In this video, we're going to make a 3D model of a schoolhouse in Google SketchUp, the free version online. We're going to follow along with a YouTube video that was made in 2014, and since then some of the icons have changed and the location of the icons and other tools have changed. So you don't have to watch this video, you can actually watch the original video, but this new video might be easier to follow along with because it will show you where the icons and commands have moved to.
SketchUp is used by major architectural firms all over the world to explore buildings before they are constructed in the real world. Would you believe that the same tool set that professionals use is available to you in the free version of SketchUp? Let's put that tool set to work and build a more complex structure, like a schoolhouse. First, let's go to our SketchUp window and start a new document under File, New, and we don't need to save any of those changes, so say no to start.
Alright, so in our version we go up to the 3 lines. Some people call it the hamburger menu because there's 3 lines to make a hamburger. Create New, and we're going to do a simple template dash feet and inches.
Start our schoolhouse, we want to use our rectangle tool to create a building footprint. So we'll go to our rectangle tool and click once on the origin, move our cursor towards the top right corner of our screen, let go of the mouse, and we're going to type in 50 feet, 100 feet. So that will be the footprint.
Alright, now to toggle back to this 2 screens, what I'm doing is I'm holding down the Alt key on the keyboard, and then I hit the Tab key on the keyboard. And you can see it has all my windows up, and I can toggle back and forth. Alright, click on the rectangle tool, click on the origin, drag your mouse out towards the green axes, and we're going to type in 50 feet, 100 feet. Then hit enter, and you have to zoom out with the wheel on your mouse. Hopefully you have a mouse. If not, it would be a lot easier if you had a mouse with the wheel on it. They're very cheap. You can get them on Amazon and other stores. To pan over so I can see everything better, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the middle mouse button and drag so I can pan and zoom out and orbit, so that's the middle mouse button, and drag just so I can see everything better.
Of our schoolhouse.
Notice his view is a little bit different.
Now that rectangle is drawn off of our screen, so we're going to
Change it.
use our navigation tools, kind of orbit around and maybe zoom out a little bit and get this guy into focus and get all this geometry on our screen. If you ever find yourself kind of lost in a model where you can't really figure out where you are, you can always click on Zoom Extents. If you click on Zoom Extents, that'll put all of the geometry in your model on your screen. So you
just for our reference, our Zoom Extents is underneath the Orbit tool. At the bottom here, there's the magnifying glass with the arrows, Zoom Extents, and what it does when you click on it, it makes your model fill up the entire screen on all 4 sides.
Click on that magnifying glass with the 4 blue arrows, and everything comes back onto your screen. Now, we're going to use our push-pull tool to pull this footprint up into a 3D mass. So activate your push-pull tool up there on the large tool set, and we click once to start, move our cursor up to suggest a direction, let go of the mouse and type 30 apostrophe enter.
So we're going to grab the push-pull tool, click on our surface, drag it up with the mouse, and type in 30 feet, 30 apostrophe, and enter. And I like to zoom out so I can see everything. Shift in the middle mouse button to drag it down. Maybe zoom out a little bit more. Pan more.
And then I'm going to click on my Zoom Extents again to get everything centered on my screen. Now, we want to create a more complex roof than just a big flat block here. So we're going to use our Offset tool and hover on your roof on the top of this block. And we'll just click once to start. Move our cursor in to suggest a direction, let go of the mouse and type 10 apostrophe enter.
Alright, and our offset tool is nested with the push-pull tool, and it's this bottom one here. It says offset. Click on that. Click on our top surface to select it. And when you move the mouse, you can see that it's coming in. It doesn't matter if it comes from this side or any of the sides. But you want to have a smaller rectangle, and then you're going to type in, what did he say? 10 feet. 10 apostrophe enter.
Next, we're going to use our Move Copy tool, and we're going to use a different feature of that. It's called Auto Fold, which will kind of automatically fold all of our edges to create a much more complex roof structure without us having to draw each piece individually. So what we'll do is we'll hover on this rectangle right in the middle, click once to pick it up, and you notice that it has this tendency to be stuck to that surface. So if we tap the up arrow key, we can toggle that auto fold command on, as well as lock our blue axis. So you can see how it's kind of folding those edges and creating those for us, so we don't have to draw every single one. I'm going to move my cursor up on the blue axis there to suggest my direction and type 10 apostrophe enter. And then
Alright, so activate the move tool, the 4 arrows. Select the rectangle on the top. When you move it around, this is what he was saying, how it's not connected. But we're going to hit the up arrow key on the keyboard, so hit the up arrow key. And now it is connected, and it's moving it on the blue axis straight up. And he wants us to move that 10 feet, so 10 apostrophe enter. Okay, if that's giving you trouble, rewind the video, watch it again, and try it again. Remember, you have the undo option, Control Z, down here on the bottom, undo. You can keep trying it until you get it right.
again, I'll just click on my Zoom Extends tool to get all of my geometry centered on my screen. Now to keep moving along and adding some detail here, let's go back to our Offset tool, and we want to create a parapet wall. So same thing, I'm going to click once to start, move my cursor to suggest a direction, and type 1 apostrophe enter. So now I have
Offset tool. Click on the surface, move it in 1 foot, 1 apostrophe enter.
have that rim around there, and I can use my push-pull tool now to push the middle surface down. I click once to start, move my cursor down to suggest a direction, let go of the mouse and type 3 apostrophe enter. And now we have that parapet wall.
Push-pull tool, that's also the P key. Click on the inside rectangle that we made, go down 3 feet, 3 apostrophe enter.
Now let's create some roof overhangs using that push-pull tool. So we're going to click once to start the push-pull, move it towards the inside of the building to suggest a direction, and type 2 apostrophe enter. So now we've push-pulled that guy in by 2 feet.
Go to your push-pull tool still, click on the side of the wall, move it in towards the center of the building, and 2 feet. Enter.
And we have that 2-foot overhang, and now to replicate that all around our model, I can double click, come over here, double click, and then on the back side, double click. So now we've pushed all those sides in and given that roof overhang all the way around by 2 feet.
Alright, so orbit around to the side, double click, keep spinning it around, it's called orbiting, double click on that side, keep orbiting around, double click on that back side. Make sure you got all 4 sides pushed in 2 feet.
Now at this point you can see we've created some extra geometry that we don't really need. So we have these extra edges here that we want to use our eraser tool to delete out. And another tip, when you're using your navigation on the mouse, if I'm orbiting and I'm zooming, keep in mind that whatever you're hovering on is the focal point of your navigation. So if I want to zoom in on this edge here, I don't want to put my mouse here and zoom. I need to put my mouse on what I'm focusing on and then roll my scroll wheel, and it'll zoom right in on there. and I can zoom out, I can zoom over here. It makes it very easy if you keep in mind that the focal point of your navigation is whatever your cursor is positioned on.
So orbit up, and like he was saying, put your mouse over what you want to zoom in on and then zoom in, and it will zoom in on what your mouse is on. Grab the eraser tool, and we're going to erase that line right there. Zoom out, put your mouse on this corner, and when you zoom in, it's going to zoom in over here. Erase that line there, zoom back out. We're going to orbit around, middle mouse button, spin it around. And if you need to zoom in, you can. I can just erase from my angle.
Zoom in on this guy and delete it. Okay, so now we've cleaned up some of that extra geometry in our model, and now we want to use our push-pull tool. And let's pull this guy down to give a roof fascia thickness. We'll click once there, move our cursor down to suggest a direction, let go of the mouse, and type in 1', enter. So now we have a thickness applied to the face of that roof.
Alright, push-pull tool, a keyboard shortcut is P key. Click on that underneath to create a fascia, drag it down. And he said 1 foot.
Enter. So now we have a thickness applied to the face of that roof.
So 1 foot and enter.
And we can zoom out and take a look at what we've created. Now let's back out of this and let's add a site. So using your rectangle tool, we're not going to be too specific on this. We just want to draw a big rectangle around this entire building. So we'll just kind of add a site onto our model.
Zoom out so you can see everything. I'm going to spin it around with the orbit tool back so I can see the blue, red, and green access the origin here. Grab my rectangle tool, zoom out so you have a lot of space, and then just click a really big rectangle. That's going to be our ground, our surface.
And then furthermore, let's add a sidewalk. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball the middle here. I can even catch my midpoint, and then I'll just draw in a sidewalk using that rectangle tool.
So what he did is, with the rectangle tool selected, he found the midpoint. Now he didn't click on it, he just found where it's at. Okay, midpoint, there it is. He went a little bit to the left of it and drew a sidewalk that kind of even on both sides of where the midpoint is. Not very precise, just roughly where it surrounds the midpoint. And he also drew the rectangle out to the edge of the ground.
So we have our basic form created, but now we need to add some detail, select some materials. So let's click on that paint bucket tool, and that will launch our materials browser.
Alright, so click on the paint bucket tool. It's right here. Notice that this is where things really look different from his version. And on this new free online version, you want to click on this browse icon to get more of what his will look like.
And let's add some different materials here. So we can go to our drop downs, and again on the Mac you want to make sure that you start with that brick, and then from there you'll see your drop downs, and it'll look somewhat similar to the PC version, but the trick is that there's a brick icon that you want to click on to get to your libraries. So we're going to go to our brick and cladding, and I'm just going to choose this brick antique.
Alright, so we have brick, cladding, and siding, so it's a little bit different. Same thing. And our brick is actually the second one. Click on it and it says Brick Antique 01.
And we'll paint all the sides of our schoolhouse here. So we'll paint those, and then I'm going to choose another.
Alright, so paint the 4 sides of the building. Orbit around so you can get all 4 sides. Then you
library, maybe roofing, and I'll pick these shingles here. Those look.
Now to collapse this, just click on the heading again and you can collapse it. You don't have to. And we also have a roofing drop down. And our shingles are now actually over here. The fourth one is the one that he's using. You can see it actually looks the same. It's right next to this one. And you're going to click on the 4 angles of the roof.
Look pretty good. I'll paint my roof with those. Alright, and then also I want to go to my, let's see, vegetation. And here we have some grass, so I'll choose this vegetation grass, and then
Alright, the vegetation is actually under landscaping, fencing, and vegetation, so that's completely different. You can see there's a lot more stuff to choose from. He's actually at the bottom, and the one he chose is next to this looking, clover looking one, so it's actually this one right here. You can see there's like this clover looking one and the one next to it. And you're going to paint our land here.
paint my site with that. And then also we can go to asphalt and concrete, and I can paint a concrete material for my sidewalk.
I'm going to collapse that so I can see better. Asphalt and concrete, drop it down, and again he chose, I think, the first one next to that. We don't have that anymore, they got moved that to a different area, but it's the first one that looks like that next to the black one. You paint this, and it actually looks like concrete if you zoom in very far.
And it starts to add some more realism or detail to this model. Now also, if we go to our ground cover, we can get some gravel that we can put on the roof.
Now this is not under ground cover, that doesn't exist anymore.
This is ground cover, gravel 1 inch.
So this one has moved to the landscaping, fencing, and vegetation drop down. And have to look to see which one he used next to the red. So this one right here, I think. If you scroll up, it tells you ground cover, gravel 1 inch, and that is ground cover, gravel 1 inch. That's what he used.
I'll add that to the roof. Now we have one more.
Okay, a lot of old schools and buildings for their flat roofs use gravel. Okay, so you think, well, why are we putting stone and gravel on a roof? That's how they did it.
Piece to add, which is our trim color. I'm going to go to my colors, and then let's just scroll through here, and I'm going to find something that seems like it would match that brick pretty nice. So on my screen I'm going to choose B16. You can choose.
Alright, we do have a color drop down. Now we don't actually have a B16, but we have a, you can see they're listed at the top. I think he used one pretty dark. I would recommend either a B8 or a B7, and it really doesn't matter which one you
choose, whatever you like. And here's a little trick. The only material left in our model is this default material. So if I hold down shift, I can click once to paint all of those surfaces. So it changes them all to that new material.
Alright, so you held down the shift key, you get a little symbol that has multiple squares. That means you're going to do multiple parts of your model. Go ahead and click, and anything that was that default material gets painted that color.
So that's a little trick, that if you hold down shift, you get those 3 little squares next to your paint bucket tool, and when you click on a material, it will basically swap out anything that's painted the previous material with your new active color. So that way we don't have to piece through our model and pick every single surface. Alright, so at this point we can close our material browser, and the form is looking really nice, but we are definitely lacking some detail. So in order to add some detail, let's use components, because we don't want to have to build every single piece of this school, because a lot of times there's already windows, doors, and things that are already created. If we go to Window, Component.
Okay, again, this has changed. Now over here on the right, we can minimize the materials. We can exit out. We can hit the arrow over here to push it away. And our component is these 3 blocks right here on the right. You want to click on that, and this opens up components. So it's completely different than this older version, 2014.
Components. We can open up that component browser, and right here where we have this Google logo, we can do a search for EDU tutorials. And if you search for EDU tutorials, that will bring up this collection here. EDU tutorials. Click on that guy, and now we have some components that we've created previously that are...
Now you don't actually want to search for EDU tutorials. When you do, you don't get, it's changed. Okay, you can see people have uploaded their versions of the schoolhouse. Obviously, if you upload one of theirs, I would know. But I'll show you how to get to these actual things. So if you notice when he hovers his mouse over, it's called EDU window. And if you do a search for EDU window and hit enter, it does come up. EDU window, the double one and the single one. And the same is true for each one of these models. We can search individually and find them since it's changed.
Really perfect for this schoolhouse tutorial. Now the first component we should add is the front door. So I'll just zoom in here on my front of the building, and I'm going to click on the EDU door.
Alright, so spin around and zoom in on the front where the sidewalk is, and we're going to search for EDU door and enter. And there it is. Click on it and it will download the model.
That's going to automatically download this guy, and then I can come down here and click right on my midpoint and position my door.
And hover over and find the midpoint. It should pop up. Click, and you can see how good of a job you centered your sidewalk. That's pretty good. Should probably teach this.
So now notice that that component also cuts a hole in the surface, which is a real nice feature of components in SketchUp. Alright, so now we want to add a window. To add a window, let's zoom over here towards that top left corner of the front of the school, and I'll just click on this larger EDU window. It's got the double window. Click on that.
Alright, so let's go to a search bar, EDU window, enter, click on the double large one, zoom out, and find the corner of your building. One thing you do is you can also zoom out, put your mouse over here and zoom back in. That will help you recenter it if you don't want to pan, or you can just pan. And I'm going to click once to place one down, and there's no specific location, just roughly in that spot.
Automatically downloads, and again, notice how this window will automatically reorient itself to stick to a surface, and then also when I place it, it cuts a hole for me. Now we have our one window in there, but we want to have multiple. And remember, instead of pulling in window after window, we can do a copy and array. I'm just going to click once to pick it up, tap Control or Option on the Mac, and then you notice I want to move in the red direction, so I'll tap the right arrow key, and that locks my red axis. And then I can put this guy down maybe towards the end, and then type 4 divided by enter. And now I have 4 equal divisions between those windows.
Now this did not work for me the first time I tried it, and it was tricky. I'm going to click on the move tool. I'm going to click on the window. I'm going to move my mouse. Now it's moving the original one. If I tap the Control key on the keyboard once, I'm going to hit Control and move. It brings off a copy. We want it to go straight on the red axes. So to do that, you hit the right arrow key on the keyboard. So tap the right arrow key, and now you'll be locked into that red axis, which we want. Move towards the other side, get it roughly about the same distance from the edge that your first window was. Click to put it down. Before you do anything else, hit 4 and the divided by symbol, the slant, and then hit enter. If you do it right, you'll get 4 new windows equally spaced. I had to try this a couple times. I found what worked best is if it's not working, hit the undo button a couple times, bring back in the first window, and keep trying it until you get it. It will work if you do it right. but it can be tricky.
Now let's also make a copy of those windows to the second floor of our school. So using the selection tool, we want to click once on that first window, and to add to our selection, we're going to hold down Shift. And notice when you hold down Shift, you get a plus and a minus sign. What that means is I can add to my selection, or I can also click again to subtract. So we want to make sure we select only these 5 windows, and then using your Move Copy tool, we'll just click once to pick them up, tap Control or Option on the Mac, and then I'll move it straight down, and you can see on my screen I'm snapping to 10 feet. I'll click there. That looks pretty good.
Alright, so grab the selection tool. The keyboard shortcut is the space bar, or you can just click on it. And click on the first window, and hold down the Shift key on your keyboard to select the other windows. Click on them. There's that plus minus that he was saying next to the mouse. If you clicked on something wrong by the wall, you can just click on it again to deselect. Okay, then we're going to use the Move tool. We're going to click on one of the windows. Now that's going to move all of them. You hit the Control key, and now you're moving a copy. And let's say we want to stay on the blue axis. Maybe I'll hit the down arrow key to make sure I'm locked into the blue up and down axes. I'm going to come down 10 feet, and enter. And I'll move those down exactly 10 feet from where I selected the window.
Alright, now to add the last level of detail to the front of this school building, let's go to our smaller window. I can click on that. It automatically downloads, and I'll drop that guy in there. Now at this point,
now notice that he actually lined it up with the edge of this window and the top roughly with the top of the door. And he's not being very precise, and that's okay. Let's click on the small window. And just roughly, I'm going to pan up, Shift, middle mouse button, drag, so that my window lines up with the edge. It might help to look on it straight on. So I'm roughly on the edge of the window above me and lined up with the top of this door. And there's ways to get that precise, but we don't care about that right now. We just want one roughly in there.
I can do the same thing, make a copy. So to make a copy, I click once to pick it up, tap Control or Option on the Mac, and then I'll tap the right arrow key to lock my red axis. And then I'm just going to position this guy here, let go of the mouse, and type 2 divided by enter.
Alright, so here we go again. Grab the Move tool, click on your window, drag it to the right, hit the Control key once to make a copy. You can hit the right arrow key to lock it in so it lines up on the red axis. Put it towards the end, click to place it down, type in 2 divided by enter. And you'll get 2, including the one original copy that you're making, 1, 2.
Now I'm going to use my selection tool and select each of these windows by holding down Shift. And again, with the Move Copy tool, we click once to pick them up, tap Control or Option on the Mac to toggle our copy command. I'll tap the right arrow key, and that locks my red axis. And now I can position these guys over on the other side.
Again, line up the edge of the window with the edge of the one above it. So let's see here. Selection tool, nope, Move tool. Click the original, hold the Shift key down. Whoop, what happened here? Grab the selection tool first. Click and hold the Shift key down to select all 3. Then grab the Move tool. Click on, I'm going to click on this window over here. I'm actually going to zoom out so I can see both sides. Then click on it. Hit the Control key to make a copy of it. Hit the right arrow key to make sure you're locked in on that red axis. Line it up with the edge of the window above it, and click to place it down.
And remember that at any time you can always right-click off in the white space to clear your selection. So that's looking pretty nice. By using simple forms, simple modeling techniques, we've created a fairly complex form, and then combine that with pre-built SketchUp models or components and really added another layer of detail to this model. Okay, so now let's go back and take a look at what we've created here. If we zoom out, And let's take 5 minutes to really complete the thought here. And we have some other components in here. We have the EDU shrub. You can add some shrubs. And I just want you to take a couple minutes to practice adding some of these components and positioning them and copying them, and add that next layer of
All right, let's search for an EDU shrub and hit enter to search for it. There it is. Click on it, and we can put one right in front of the window here. I'm going to spin this around a little bit so I can see. Click to drop it down, and I think I'm actually going to move that over to the left a little bit closer to my sidewalk. Zoom out so you can see both sides, or see this complete side. And then if you notice, he put 3 copies, 3 divided by, it's here. So I'm going to click on it with the move tool, hit Control to make a copy, put it down at the end and click, and 3 divided by, enter. Boom. You should be getting the hang of this now, hopefully.
Detail to your model. We also have an EDU tree. That's a pretty nice looking tree. So we can add that guy in there. Maybe.
All right, let's search for an EDU tree. Enter. There it is. Click on it. Zoom out. I'm going to pan over, shift middle mouse button, drag. And I'm going to put one on each side. Oops, I'm going to hit escape accidentally. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually moving the original tree. I could click on it, hit the Control key, and drag a copy. Or if you're having trouble, the first time I just downloaded and loaded another one in. Not a big deal.
Make a copy of it. And then we also have our flagpole we can throw out in the front. So that says our Google EDU on there.
Search for EDU flagpole. Download that and place that somewhere around this area. Click, drop it down. I guess he was showing that it says Google EDU.
So with these components, it makes it really easy to add a lot of extra detail to your model. So take 5 minutes to add those additional windows to the other side of your building, add some trees and shrubs, and then we'll move on.
And feel free to add some windows on the sides of your building. Maybe a door. If you look at his, does he show it? Maybe back at the beginning. Let's see here. What we could do, well, they have a school bus? That's kind of cool. I'm just maybe not do the one with the oh, they got some pretty cool stuff in here. Just to show you examples of what some people have done. You can see they have, and the more models you have on here, especially if they're painted with materials, the slower your computer will run. So you got to be careful you don't put too much in. You can see my computer is super lagging. So this one has windows on the side. They put another door on the back with shrubs going around the side. I know there's some in here that there's a door on the side of the building. You can kind of customize it, play it around. I'm going to delete that one so my model doesn't lag. And then save it as, well, you can save it as a couple of things. Click on the save. I have it in my SketchUp folder. You don't have to. And I called it SketchUp School. I actually named it the title of the SolidWorks here. Just highlighted it, copied it, right click, copy, Control C, and paste it in there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video.